What fragrances were popular back in the early 2000s? We're going to talk about that right after this. Today, we're talking about my top 2000s fragrances. Now, we are talking men's fragrances today, so if you're a lady, you can scroll by, or if you're into that kind of thing, maybe stick around. Back in the 2000s, it was an interesting time, you know what I mean? There wasn't this super hyped virality on fragrance. The popular men's fragrances at the time sort of had a lot of similar notes, you know? You had a lot of fresh aquatics. You had a lot of like soapy, oak mossy scents, you know, such as like green Irish tweed, fragrances like that. Today, I really wanted to kind of bring out some of the OG classics that I grew up on, the ones that really remind me of that nostalgic time back in the early 2000s. Don't take offense, Gen Z, but back when things were better. Things were a lot better back in the early 2000s. Here's the deal. So the first fragrance we're going to talk about is by Calvin Klein. And this is actually not the original. The one that I have is the Aqua Flanker, but this one is Eternity Aqua by Calvin Klein. Ooh, now the original Eternity may feel a little bit dated right now, but ooh, this Aqua Flanker, this stuff is nice. It's very fresh, very aquatic. It smells soapy clean. It's got a little bit of a blue tinge to it, a little bit of citruses, but mostly what you're getting from this is gonna be that fresh, aquatic, little bit salty, oceanic smell with a very clean, fresh accord. It's actually a solid performing fragrance from the house of Calvin Klein. Very, very nice. Really good projection, solid longevity, and this fragrance sells for around 30 bucks currently. But back in the 2000s though, everybody was rocking this. So this is definitely a good one. The next fragrance we're gonna talk about is one of my, I love this one. This one. You're gonna see this pop up in a lot of Marshalls, TJ Maxx, places like that. Of course, we're talking about Burberry Touch. Ooh, when you wear this, the ladies are gonna wanna touch. Let me tell you something. Ooh, this stuff smells nice. Now, does this feel a little dated? If you're like 19, 20 years old, this might feel slightly dated. It doesn't have a super modern touch, but it smells amazing. And I promise you, in the air, you're gonna be irresistible. This stuff is excellent. I love it. This is a little bit more on the earthy side, very much masculine. The House of Burberry has not let this one go. And I don't know, I don't think they've really even reformulated it. They kept pretty true to this scent over the years. It's excellent. Really, really nice. I wouldn't call it sweet. I wouldn't call it, you know, citrusy or anything like that. This is very much warm, spicy, but also fresh enough to be worn in the summer or even summer evenings. Definitely try out Burberry Touch. And if you was back in the 2000s, somebody was touching you. The next fragrance is pretty special to me. This is another Calvin Klein fragrance. And this fragrance has a very special place in the perfume sort of ethos, you know what I mean? Because specifically, this is the first mass-produced unisex fragrance. And of course, we're talking about CK1. Woo! This is really nice. This is probably one of my favorite nighttime, bedtime fragrances. And a lot of people are like, why is it a bedtime fragrance to you? Well, let me tell you something. This, to me, reminds me of being fresh out the shower. This does have a floral accord, but it's mixed beautifully with some gorgeous citruses. It's fresh, it's clean, it's soapy. And when someone smells this on you, they're gonna think that person has their stuff together. It's gonna make you smell fresh, clean. It's gonna make you smell professional. This can be worn in the office. This can be worn dressed up, dressed down. It really don't matter. This is an incredibly versatile fragrance. As a matter of fact, it's so versatile that it can be worn by a man or a woman. This one really did change the dynamic of fragrances in the world back in the 2000s. This one is going to be in the history books of fragrance. Now, I have a lot of respect for the House of Versace. I know they've done amazing things in the fragrance game, especially keeping their fragrances very affordable. Now, this fragrance is incredibly affordable, but it also has another very special place, and that is the original designer of Versace. He was creatively directing his fragrances back when he was alive, and this is the last one that he had ever creatively directed. Of course, we're talking about The Dreamer by Versace. The Dreamer is not one to sleep on. It is one to dream about. This stuff, man. Once again, this is gonna be a little spicy. It's gonna be a little more on the warm side, but still have that fresh elegance. I think, there seems to be a trend about the early 2000s fragrances. They all seem to be incredibly versatile. They all fit any occasion. As a matter of fact, I don't think fragrances were really being, created as nighttime or daytime scents. Not saying they didn't exist, but what was popular was something that you could sort of bring anywhere. You could wear it in any occasion, any season. That was what was popular back then. And I think, even though money was more abundant back then and the dollar was worth more back then, people were still pretty frugal when it came to perfumes. So typically you would only have 1 or 2 bottles. And those 1 or 2 bottles pretty much did everything. They were workhorse fragrances. And I would have to say all of these are workhorse fragrances. This one especially. So you guys want to definitely check this out. Give it a try. Your girl's definitely going to be dreaming about this one. So the last fragrance I'm going to talk about from the 2000s. Now, this is one that really has a special place in my heart. And the one that I'm holding in my hand is Profondo. I don't talk about Profondo that much. I got blue on today, so I'm gonna grab the blue version of Acqua di Gio. Now, what did they do with Profondo that makes it so unique? Profondo took that Acqua di Gio DNA, which of course, aqua in the name. It's a very fresh, aquatic, salty, very mineralistic fragrance. Very, very unique. Acqua di Gio really broke ground back in the 2000s with its scent DNA. But Profondo took that DNA, kept true to it, but gave it a blue accord, which essentially means that they gave it this sort of like slightly sweet shower gel vibe. I absolutely love this fragrance. Very good, very, very good. This one is incredibly versatile as well. This can be worn in the summer or in the fall. Cold, super cold winter, I don't know, maybe not so much. Just because it's not as strong as you would like it to be, I don't think it's gonna really be able to push through that super cold weather. But definitely for the next couple months, you're gonna be able to pull this off. So go out and pick it up while you still can. I have a feeling Profondo might not be sticking around that long, but Armani has a way of sort of getting rid of fragrances that, even though they sell great, they're just always making room for new flankers. Acqua di Gio is still one of the best-selling fragrance lines in history, and they're always making room for new ones. So get Profondo while you can, because it might not last forever. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of A Fragrant State of Mind. I just want to take a second to remember all the lives we lost in September 11, 2001. This is sort of my homage to that day, to that era. I am very old, so I was alive when September 11th happened. I remember the impact it had on not only me, the people around me, my community, and my country. And I say the one thing that I specifically remember about that time was how close America got, how we all pulled together, despite all our differences, we pulled together and we became a true United States. And I was so proud of this country, not only the people that pulled together, but the first responders, those that dug through the rubble of that horrific event and still went home. And even those that didn't, they will be remembered. In 2025, we're still going through a lot of terrible events. And I would just urge you all, try to unite the best we can. Forget about the differences of your neighbors, your friends, your family, or people that you may or may not disagree with. Unite with them. Know that they are all human, that they all deserve respect, love. Even though they may have differing opinions from you, these are our neighbors, our family and friends. And the more that we unite, the stronger we become. Let's be strong, ladies and gentlemen. Go out, be good, live good, love well, and smell good. I hope you all have an amazing evening. My name's Fragrant Derek, and you guys have a fragrant state of mind.
Yeah. Smell good. Yeah.